Fine. So, good morning. I'll start with today's sessions now. So today, throughout the day, we'll see some more sample codes with the image processing and all. So that we'll be seeing, and we'll see some more examples with the libraries. And I'll be getting into the Python programming. So right now, in the WhatsApp group, I have sent one zip folder. All the members can download it, and you can check that one. So this is the content of that folder. So in this one, all the Python codes we are having it. Okay. So basics about some Python programming we are going to check out today. Okay. Right. Yeah, documents through email. Yesterday I forgot that one, so I'll send it. Okay, today without missing. In our lunch break, I'll send all the documents through mail. Okay. That I'll do it today. Okay. So further continuing with the other image processing or machine learning activities. Today first session, I'll just start with the Python programming, because understanding some basics about Python programming, it will be helpful for us to understand other codes also. Okay. Since yesterday was the introduction program, I thought like first let me show the output, then we'll get into the some basics. Okay. That is one method of learning. Normally when we consider the teaching methods, right? So one is the method where you start from theory, but many people won't get so much interest in the day one with the theories. So the another method is first you show some results. So first you start off playing on the ground, like volleyball. If you want to play, first get into the ground and play with the ball. So slowly you'll come to know that no, your hands are not so good, you don't have basics, your energy is not so good. So obviously you'll get back to the exercises. So and your food habits and all you'll improve, because you want to be in the ground for more than half an hour and 1 hour, right? So that is the theory. Again, we have to get back to our theories to become strong with any skills. So yesterday was the session where I introduced with some sample code. So we saw some outputs, we understand like machine learning, basically like what is machine learning and all. So now we'll get into the programming language. So coming to the programming language part. Yeah. So we are speaking about the Python now first. So first we'll see like why Python, what is the reason of the Pythons and all, and then we'll get into some sample codes as a beginner, like how we can start our life with the programming. Okay. So today's sessions are like 2 sessions I'll be covering with the Python codes. Okay. So here I have listed some of the points about the Python. So all of you can just go through with these points quickly. So we tell like Python is simple, easy to learn, and it's a high level language, object oriented programming. I'll explain these things. What is the meaning of object and all. So simple, all this we can understand easily. Object part, we'll see that later. Okay. And the Python language, the code, the scripts of the Python is written in C again. Okay. So here the Python language has to be developed, right? Like how we tell like our Kannada language, that this and all, again they will other ancient languages we tell no as a reference. So same way here also Python is developed with the C programming. Okay, right. So here I'm taking the references Python 3.7 as a basics reference for our practice, everything and all. Python 2.7 version is an outdated. Okay, so from 3.7 right now we have up to 3.10 and 3.11. So everything is the running series. We can use that, no problem. So again here it is mentioned like multiple programming patterns are used, objects, function, procedures, different types of programming patterns are used in Python, that we'll see again later. So Python makes our debugging and development activities much more faster kind of thing. So one best thing is it's freely available in the source code. Source code means the Python has been developed with the C language, right? So that code is freely available. So using that code, you can do some alterations with the Python language also. That is the meaning of this statement. Then it works on all the platforms. Platforms means the operating system platforms. So generally we use maximum with the Windows, right? So Windows, Linux, Unix, in all the different OS platforms, it's going to work in a better way without any much more changes. So we can take some combination of the languages also. It can be integrated with C, Java, all those things can be done. So these are some of the basic points. So now, and we can see here I have listed out some applications like web application, desktop, all these things are not. So, so now we'll see like what is the main reason of the Python. These are the general statements. Okay, like when you get into purchasing a new mobile in the market, they will tell like some features and specification, right? That battery backup gives better, that is better, the screen is wider, like that, and all those are the general points normally compared to one product to other product. Some main key points they are going to mention it. But now we'll see like what is the major reason. So now till right from 90s, our programming software field started, and right from past 8 or 10 years, why suddenly everyone are shifting towards to the Python. For that, we'll try to understand some reasons. Okay. So till now, if you have heard about it, normally we tell like if you want to get into the IT fields or software fields, the programming is the key point, and to become a programmer, first we have to learn C.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿನಿ 37 ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗ್ಯಾರ.
Someone has to mute it. Sir, all of you can just
ದೇವರಾಜ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ.
Right. So we were telling like C is the basics language where if you want to become a programmer, learn with the C programming, right? So that is correct. That is there is no wrong with that statement. Everything is fine. So even 5 years back, I was telling for all my students wherever I do seminars, everyone I telling like start with C programming, right? So even we learned in our educations also with the C programming. So C is a basic programming language, right? So there are a lot of other languages like C++, we know, Java, we know, .NET, they will tell VB related. Then we get into the web development, HTML, they'll be telling PHP programming. So n number of list of programming languages are there. Okay. Now, see, the overall programming languages can be divided into two parts. So one is the C. So C is a functional method or a structured method where we write the codes. Okay. So there are some methods of writing the program where in the function format, we are going to write the code in the C programming. Now we'll see what is C++. C++ is the upgrade version of C where there was some problems with the C that was covered in the C++. We don't get into what is the problems and all, that is not required. Okay, we'll just see like there is an upgrade of C++. But in C++, we get one more concept that is called as an OOPS concept, object-oriented programming. So where in C we tell like whatever the code, whatever the problem statement you have in front of you, so that you have to split up into small functions and you have to write that code. Okay. So like now you consider you want to prepare a food in the kitchen. Okay. So some curry you want to prepare. So that curry, whenever you want to prepare, that is a full one work, right? So that is the task you have to do. So split that one. Now that curry preparation, I want to write a code for it. Okay. So split the work into small functions. So how I'll split like now the vegetables which I am going to use it, that is one function. Okay. So the cleaning of the vegetable is a one task. So then I have to boil it, or what all vessels are required, that is another task. Clean it, measure the size of it, something like that. Okay. Then some masala mixtures and all is required. So what all is required? So it should be grinded, it should be cutted into pieces. So that is another task. So I'm splitting it, right? Then we integrate whenever these tasks are required, I'll call it. Now, once you have splitted your masala task, it's not like all the masala I'll put in one shot, right? So sometime now you started off preparing. First you take a vessel, you have cut something, first put that one, little bit some type of masala you'll put. Then again you will put some more vegetables. Then after that you'll fry a little bit some vegetable, then you use for boiling. So different sequences are there, right? So it depends on the curry which way I want to prepare it. In some curries I will boil one vegetable first and then I'll fry. In some preparation, first I'll fry, then I'll boil it. So the sequence are different. It's not like all the curries are prepared in the same sequence. right? So this procedure, we are splitting our overall work into multiple tasks, right? So small tasks. Now assume like to prepare that query in front of 5 people are there. Now you have to divide your work for them, right? So all these tasks you'll give for them. One person you will tell like you do all the cleaning. One person you prepare with all these masala activities. One to cut the vegetables. So same way our programming activities. Okay, nothing much more different. That is also a work, and this is also a work. So, but the problem with the programming activity, what we face is means learning with the programming. Here, physically, we won't see it. There is no touch and feel through our eyes. Our data won't go inside our mind. This is everything is logic, right? So, you have to think in your brains only. We have to think, we have to analyze, and you have to come out with the results. So, the data feeding methods are a little bit tough over here. So, that's why getting entry into the logical field, into the programming field is quite tougher compared to other physical skills, because in other physical skills we are supposed to see it, we are supposed to touch it, feel it, so we get better informations over there, easy to understand. But in these kind of fields, little bit tough, because everything has to run inside our mind. That is the difference. Okay, so now coming back to the programming method. So in C, we are going to divide our whole programming part into a small task where I can simply use the word as a functions. Done. But when I tell as a C++, there one more word comes into picture, that is called as a OOPS concept, object-oriented programming, where it involves with the classes and objects. We use the word like your work. The task has to be splitted into a number of classes and objects. There are plus points for it. Okay, so we use the word called inheritance, other terms and all polyformism, all those things will speak over there, but that is a different part of the C++ concept. But in a simple way to understand, C, divide all your work into small functions. OOPS is a concept where divide all your work into classes and objects and then use it. Clear? Now, OOPS is so overall, all our programming concepts can be divided into two parts. Think in the function format or think in the classes format, class or objects format. Done. Now, so now if I tell Java is having again a programming scripting method where inside that OOPS concept is used. .NET, before VB was there, Visual Basics, the upgrade version of Visual Basics is .NET. There also OOPS concept is used. So in many languages, OOPS concept is used. So today, if you want to become a programmer, we have to learn two concepts. One is considering your programming method in the method of functions, and another one is in the method of a OOPS concepts, right? In Python, both the things are there. So we can write the Python codes in the method of functions also, in the method of the OOPS concepts also. Clear? So that's why we tell like now today, if you want to start any programming language, if you want to become a software engineer, straight away start with a Python. If you learn Python, you can write codes in C also, you can write code in OOPS also, you can write in Java also, in any other language you can do it. Because in Python, function method also is there and a OOPS concept method also is there. Clear? This is one of the first statement why Python is preferred. Done? Okay. Next. So mainly in the electronics field, everyone knows about the field called as an image processing, right? So, and we know about the embedded system. These two are much more used in the electronics fields, right? So other similar way, web development, GUI development, all this and all known by the software fields. Now, web development in a common informations also, everyone knows about it because we use web pages in our day-to-day life, right? So web development was one area where we tell like before, like 4 years before and all, everyone were telling like, if you want to get into the web development, you have to learn PHP. That is one programming language. Again, with that, multiple concepts will come, servers, that is and all. But I'll just speaking about the core languages, backend language. Okay. We were telling like you learn PHP or you learn .NET or you learn Java, where you can become a web developer. Okay. In Java, we tell as a J2EE something and all, so which are related to web development. So we were telling 4 years back, if anyone tells like, I want to get into the field of web development, these were the suggestions given for them. So you start off learning Java or PHP or with a .NET and all. So nowadays, a lot of web development tasks are done with the Python. Clear? So if you learn Python programming language, you can enter yourself into the web development fields. Then, okay. Now, embedded system. So embedded system, everyone knows it is comes with a microcontroller. It's with the electronics field where a microcontroller or a microprocessor is used. Inside that, you're going to write a code, right? So for this, one of the basic language is assembly language. That is quite different and all. Okay. So next, for microcontrollers and microprocessors, we were telling that C is the standard programming language in the field of embedded. In our today's day-to-day life, wherever see everything is an embedded product. Wherever you see some automation, there should be some code in that one, and chip should be there, and that is an embedded product. If I tell about your computers, your hard disk, CD-ROMs, in motherboard, one microcontroller will be there. In mobile, one microcontroller will be there. So everywhere it is there. Even in your pen drive, one microcontroller will be there. Okay, all the products will be having one chip, which is a microcontroller inside that code. Throughout the world, wherever we are finding electronics product, around 70 to 80% of the products are owned with the C program. Inside that, there will be a C program. Clear? So C was one of the prominent language in the embedded field. Assembly is used for 5 to 10%. That is for some other reasons. Okay, that is a different part. So when we tell embedded field, C was the standard language to be used in all the embedded products. Throughout the world, wherever electronics we are finding, we find C program inside that. And so nowadays you would have heard about the Raspberry Pi board, right? So which is started almost 10 years back. So that is a processor board which can behave like a computer or kind of thing, and even it can behave like a normal microcontroller also. Like in our education system, we know about the 805. So 805 is a microcontroller, right? So nowadays everyone would have heard about the Arduino boards. So Arduino is a microcontroller board. So Raspberry Pi board, it can behave like a 805 or a Arduino board also. And again, it can behave like our mobile and a computer also. So inside Raspberry Pi board, we write with a Python program. So Raspberry Pi is an embedded system where you write a Python code, right? So now in embedded system also, we are seeing the Python entry where till this period means till past 4 or 5 years, C was the prominent language. Now we are seeing Python has entered in that field, right? So nowadays, even for Arduino also, if you start off Googling it, you'll come to know that even for Arduino, we get a mini Python compiler where you can write Python codes for Arduino also. So slowly in embedded field, for any basic microcontroller, Python is getting replaced. So hopefully in the next 2-3 years, we'll be seeing that one Python can be used in all the embedded chips or embedded microcontrollers. Clear? So that is going to happen in future. So now we came to know like web development is replaced by Python, means web development activities are done with Python, embedded activities is done with Python. Image processing, everyone would have heard about the tool called MATLAB, right? So MATLAB was used for all the image processing activities. So now that again is done with the Python. So yesterday we saw a lot of sample codes with the Python programming. Machine learning, artificial intelligence, what are the terms we speak now? These terms are there in theory wise, speech recognition, all this theory wise, it was there even 15-20 years back also. I completed my engineering in 2005. So that time in my 6th or 7th semester, speech processing was a subject for me as an elective at that time. I'm basically an electronics engineer. So at that time, it was an elective for me, right? So as a theory wise, it was there. But now all these things are coming into practical. So we saw Google mobile applications, Google APIs and all where you can use the voice inputs. From past 5 years, successfully all these products are used, right? Because nowadays the chips, the microcontrollers or the processors are so much capable to process these activities. So the complete machine learning activity, which we are speaking now, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science, where I'm telling like it is the next generation technology. In the next 10 years, we are going to see some beautiful products in these areas, right? So that is completely done with the Python codes. Clear? So like this, if I go on speaking about all different areas, every different application fields, before it was with the different languages. We were telling like this area was done with 70-80% with this language like that. Okay. But now in all those different fields, Python is getting replaced. So that's why everyone tells like now, if you want to start off learning any programming language, starts with Python. Then, okay. So this was simple explanation like why Python is required now in our life. So now to do these codes and all, we'll just use the idle software. Now we'll continue with the programming part. So this is the folder which I sent it in the group now. So I'm just opening my first code. So there is a list of codes. Okay, so the first code, you can just open it, and all of you can execute this code. So this code is asking some input now. So some print statement I have written. So hi, this is my first Python code. I learned Python in, so I have to give like within how many months I am going to learn. So if I give 2, so 2 months, read 1 hour, write code 1 hour. So project end like that. Some statement I have put it over there, right? So now we'll see this code. All of you can run this. Okay, meanwhile, I'll send a mail also. So I'll inform for sir to send the codes in the mails for everyone. So even you can download from there. Just 2 minutes. I'll call for Vishwanath sir and I'll come back. Meanwhile, just all of you can just observe this code and execute it in your system. Okay, so I'll continue with the explanation now. So we'll see our first program with the Python programming. So here simple things. I just use some print and if statements here. So there is a print statement which already we saw in our yesterday code. So whatever you want to print on the output screen, you can just use the print statements. Then input. Input is a keyword where we are trying to collect data from the external keyboards and all. So here I have taken an input. So that input, whatever we input here, it is will be in the string format. So that I have to convert into a data type of int. So I am just converting that. Okay, so then months, right? So I'm storing it in a variable called months here. See, there is something difference. Normally, when we write the codes in C, we were supposed to declare the data type here. Just a moment. So whenever we write the codes in C, we were using the word called data type where we were supposed to mention hint or it's a type of a character, right? So we were supposed to do that, float, hint, character, all those things. So here I have not mentioned anything. I'll come back to that one later. So I had given a variable months here. So your data will be stored in this. And after that, I'm printing that one. Just to check in the output, I'm printing it. Okay, so this is the variable months and I'm printing a string called months over there. So that you can see in the output here, this statement. Okay. So after that, I'm checking that months, whatever you entered from the keyboard, I'm checking with the if conditions. Okay. So if you are mentioned like I'll learn Python in 1 month, okay, so then I'm printing an answer for that one as read 1 hour and write the code for 2 hours. So here I mentioned through keyboard as a 2 means for 2 months, right? So when I mentioned 2 months, the second else if statement is going to become true. So here equal conditions are there. I'm checking for condition 2 here, right? So then it will print here, read 1 hour and write code for 1 hours, something like that. Okay. So if you have mentioned like months as 3, so read for half hour and write. So you are taking 3 months to learn Python code as per your timing schedules and all. So you need 3 months to learn programming means then reading you can reduce your time to half hour, but still your coding work has to be for 1 hour. So else other than 1, 2, 3, if you had entered some other number, then reduce your durations because 3 months is maximum time where you can learn easily any programming language as at least as a beginner and an intermediate level. So reduce your timing within 1 or 2 or 3 months. So that is the message which I want to convey with this code. Hopefully everyone would have understood about it, right? So now if I run the code again, see I'll enter like 5. So it will reply like a reduce your duration something, right? Okay. So all of you can check this thing. So why I mentioned like read and write means any programming language can be learned by typing the codes only. So we have to type the code regularly to get a grip in the programming language. So that's why I mentioned this thing. Okay. So everyone can understand about this part. So now I'll start with some few more points about Python programming. In this document which I sent, then idle software and all is there. Already we started off using it. We know about that one. Now, some key points I'm mentioning about the Python programming here. Some basic points, okay? After that, other data types, keywords, everything is there here. Okay. Now, what are some key points we need to keep it in our mind when we start off working with the Python that we'll see. And these points I'll just compare with C programming because generally many of us know with the C programming. Okay, so I'll just compare with that and I'll start off speaking, explaining these points. Okay, first thing is numbers are mainly of two types: integers and floats kind of thing, right? So integers, we know that it's a whole number. So I'm trying to speak about the data types here. Okay, see the whole programming part. Now, when you start off reading the programming language, the complete programming we can divide into two parts. Like speaking about the keywords, identifiers, then your control statements like if looping loops like for loop, while loop, and all functions, right? So all these are related to the writing the code syntax, the way of writing the code. To write a code, some procedures are there, right? So we have to learn that procedure. So all these tools comes into that end. There is another end of some of the tools like data types. Normally in C we speak about arrays and all, right? Arrays, structures. So data structures and all we tell, right? So all these are related to storages. Okay, where how you want to store your data when you're working, you have to the tools of handling and storing. Like if I tell about some bike is there, now you want to assemble a bike or something. Okay, so that time you first you have to understand the tools, right? So the tools like what is the spanner, cutter, so where you're going to use it, cutting plier. So all these tools, the spanners different size will be there. Once you learn that one, it's very easy for you to assemble it, right? So that is the one part. So like that, there is a set to write the C codes, to write any programming languages. There are some portions of it, some of the topics which are related to the writing syntax. Okay, so that is the one area, and the another area is related to the storages, data types, functions. Data types, arrays. Then structures related. Generally, we call like data structures. Everything comes under the storage areas. Clear? So both in a separate way we have to understand it. Since it's a small duration session, means I'm speaking about Python programming just for 2 sessions here. So I'll just speak about some basics and key points. That's it. Okay, I won't go into anything depth and all now. Fine. And few points I will just compare with the C now. The first point is with the data types now. Normally, when we read with the C, we know like hint, float, character, long hint, and all these other data types were used, right? So now in Python, very straight away, the data types are divided into only two types. One is the integer and another one is the float. Done. So with the numbers. So one is the type of a hint, another one is a float. Integer means it's a whole number. Float means it will be a with a decimal points like 25.3. That is a float. If I tell only 25, it's an integer. 25.3 is a float, right? No. There is no separate called long at all. Long data type is not there in hint. In C programming, long was there, right? The hint type can be an integer of any size. This is one important part which was required in the C programming, and this was the biggest demerit with the C programming. Okay, sorry. This was the. I'll repeat it. Here you can just read the statement once. The hint type can be an integer of any size. So this was one of the biggest problem with the C programming, and these problems has been solved in the Python programming. Clear? I don't know about other programming languages like Java and all had not worked, so I don't know there it has been solved or not. But here, the one of the related to the size, the problem has been solved. Now. Okay, sir has shared this Python codes and all through the email IDs. So all of you can just check your email IDs and you can download it if you're not able to download through WhatsApp and all. It has been sent in the mail IDs. So all of you can just go through with that. Okay, right. Now coming back to this topic, okay, of any size. This is one important concept. Can I know, like, I want the answer from the participants, like, basically in integer, when we speak about the C programming and all, what is the size of the integer data type? You can reply in the chat box, any one or two members. Normally we speak something called as a size. So I want to know what is the size of a hint or size of a float. 8-bit, okay. No, it's not the correct one. Then hint, integer type we tell, no, hint data type. So what is the size of a hint? So in C programming, normally we were writing, no, hint I, int j, so 16-bit. So 8-bit means 1 byte, 16-bit is 2 byte, right? Okay, then so for hint 16 bits or 32 bits, okay, 32k, k is wrong, okay. For a character, so you can mention like character or a hint, the bits what you are mentioning. So hint and character, bits or bytes. 1 byte or 2 byte for which one? Repeat it.
1 byte.
Character 1 byte, right? Okay. 1 byte. Okay. Yeah. Machine specific. Okay, this is also a correct statement. Okay, now I'll get back to that one now. This was very important, and I'm basically an embedded developer. Okay, in embedded, understanding the size of a variable is one of the important. We tell embedded C, no? Embedded C is not something totally different. Okay, it is C only. But when you write a code for a microcontroller or a processor, some key points are there which alters from normal C. Okay, in that again, this data type, the size of the data types was very important. Okay, because in embedded, one is the biggest problem is your memory will be less. If the electronics teachers, you all will be knowing with the embedded part, microcontrollers memory we tell like 64k memory is there. In our 805 basic 805 was having 8k or 16k kilobytes we tell, right? 8k. So if you want to see any of the code for document files here, 8k means kilobytes, right? So now see, if you see here, see, this is one word file something. It is having 14k. So this single file is tough to put into our microcontrollers, right? So normally maximum for microcontrollers comes with 64k. So hardly 5 copies of this file if I put, it gets filled. So there the memory handling is the biggest challenge in as an embedded developers. Okay, that is a different topic. Now coming back to the size. Okay, this is because this is very important, right? See, as per C, the size data types when we tell see, data types means what? You have to store your contents when you're writing a code. Now I want to write a code to do some addition, subtraction, something. Okay. Or I'll take an example of this code just now, which I executed. Now I'm asking the user to enter something, the months. So whatever the value he entered, right, I have to store somewhere. Some storage space should be required for that, right? For that, I used one variable called months. Inside that, whatever you entered from keyboard, that was stored over there, right? So some storage is required whenever you write a program. So storage itself acts as one of the biggest area in the programming languages to understand about all this storages. Okay. So in storages, the first part is called as the data types. So small data. When you gather this data in a bigger way, the whole storage systems will get into the field called data structures. Clear? So because to handle that, it becomes in a very huge format. Like if you consider your in the home or a bureau or a cupboard, right? So all the blocks are not the same size, right? One with smaller, one with bigger, one with locker. Many reasons are there. So same way here also in programming also, to store our data, multiple concepts are going to come into picture. Now, as per our C, we know that the basic data types are hint, float, character, and long and all. When you have a whole number, put it in a hint. So that number, when you want to store it in an integer variable, so what is the size allocated for it? Some space you have to allocate it, right? So what is the size? And normally hints are told with the 2 bytes and it is machine specific. With respect to 16-bit compilers, 16-bit compilers means all our microcontroller areas and all. So basically we tell microcontrollers with 8-bit, 16-bit like that, right? With respect to standard of 16-bit compilers, the integer is the size of 2 bytes. When you go with the 32-bit and 64-bit compilers, the integer is the size of 4 bytes. Normally, our computers related activities. Again, in computers, your DOS we tell, no? DOS and Unix, again, it's a 16-bit compiler. So others with the Windows and all, it is a 32-bit, 64-bit, where int is of 4 byte. Okay. Character is of 1 byte. Clear? So floats we tell again with the float with 4 bytes and double with the 8 byte. Like that. Okay. So that was the byte size what we speak with the C programming. Now, what is the actual meaning? This is very important. So that's why I'm taking a little bit more time to explain this part. What is the actual meaning of that 2 byte? We'll try to understand now. So I'll just, okay, just a moment. So I'll just write it in this document only here. So now assume like you're written like int x is equal to 25 compared to our C. So I declared like this, okay. Then I'll be writing one more variable int, all should be lowercase since I'm typing in the word, it is just taking with this thing. So the first letter is coming with a capital. Int y is equal to 30. This is the code I'm writing, and I'll declare one variable int xyz something. Okay. Then I'll write like z is equal to x plus y, right? So then print z. So this is the code which I have written. So I'm just doing the addition of it. So everyone knows the answer like 25 and 30. When you add it, you'll get the result of it as 55, right? Now, what is the answer for this? So I'll make it simple. I'll consider 200 and 300. So what will be the answer of this? So it will be 500, right? Okay. So now 200 and 300, 500 it came, right? So now when I do this one, so it will be 5,000, right? So when I do this one, it will be 50,000, correct? So when I do this, it will be 5 lakh. So up to this, we saw multiple outputs, right? As I go on increasing my zeros and all. So do you think that at any stage we get an error over there or the wrong answer printed? So anyone knows, you can just reply in the chat box or you can reply. See, when I added my x and y variable and stored in a z and I'm printing that output. So for when it was with 200, 300, the result was 500. So the same way 2,000, 3,000, 20,000, 2 lakh, 3 lakh. So 5 lakh. So which output it's going to print wrong? 50,000 will get printed correctly. 5 lakh will be printed correctly, or 5,000 will be printed correctly or wrong. So I just want anyone to reply this. Exceeds range of data types. So which answer will be the wrong? That wrong word also I want. Which answer? Maximum value of int is 32, right? This these statements are correct. Okay, so these statements are correct. About 32,000. Okay, the some round numbers we'll consider. We'll consider 32,000 garbage value, something and all. Okay. Garbage values, right? See, again, there is one more factor in here. Normally, we were supposed to declare signed int or unsigned int and all, right? So when we won't mention that by default it is signed, unsigned, all these things comes into picture there, right? Signed int and unsigned int. Okay, so we'll see that what it is now. These statements are correct. Garbage value will get. So these statements are correct. So I'll just brief it now. In a smaller way, we have to differentiate it again, those statements. So I'll just brief it. Okay, I think. Okay, signed is 32, right? Okay. Just a moment. Okay. So normally when we tell 2 byte of the integer size, so 0 to 15, this is the 2 byte size, right? Where we call LSB lower LSB part and MSB part, right? So when you tell a variable, when you declare like this, if it is a signed means the MSB portion, 1 bit will be used for sign indication like plus or minus. So the remaining 15 bits are used for storing your data. When you make unsigned, then all the 16 bits will be used for storing your data. Okay, because everything is a positive number, right? So when we consider like this, 2 power 15, it comes around 32,000 like that, 2 power 15. Because for signed, it is only 15-bit location, because 1 bit will be used for sign indications. 2 power 15 means 32,000 something. So whenever we declare any variables with a signed integer something means, then inside that variable to store your data, you are having a space. You are having a space for 15 bits. So maximum up to 32,000 round number we can store it. But if you are trying to store 33,000, so the next MSP bit you are going to lose that one. So if you are putting a 33,000 bits, then 33,000 minus that 32,700. So the remaining data you will find over there, because the MSP bit, the next bit you are going to lose it, because for that there is no space. 2 power 16. So all these statements are correct. So I'm just clubbing it and I'm making the flow of it now. Clear? So now we'll just consider the unsigned part. So all these are unsigned part. Unsigned part means then you are allocated with the total 16 bits. Okay. So when you consider everything is an unsigned data type, total 16 bits are given for allocating your data for an integer, right? So that is 2 power 16. 2 power 16 comes around 64,000 round number. So we'll assume 65. Okay, now if you are putting 66,000, okay, now here to consider this one, right? So Z is also unsigned. So in int I'm storing 20,000, so it's correct. Y 30,000, fine. Okay, now instead of that, what I'll do is I'll make it here 40,000 and here 25,000. We'll take a round number. Okay, 2 power 16 will consider 65,000. So up to this it is fine. Okay, so in Z we can see that 65,000 works. Okay, now assume that you increase that one, instead of 25,000 you make 26,000. Then what will happen is for 26 means total of this one I am storing in Z, right? So it will be 66,000. For 66,000, one more bit is required. That is the 17th bit is required, and that space is not allocated for a integer variable, right? So obviously that bit data we are going to lose, and remaining will get in Z as a only 1000 over there. Clear? So the difference we are going to get it. I'm just taking the round numbers. With the actual numbers, if you go also, you can do that calculations. Clear? So where 2 power 16, some 64,000, some round figure is going to come out. So means basically what I want to tell is, whenever we were supposed to write in C program, where we were supposed to be very clear, like what is the size of my data will be there. But nowadays in real time, the data are so fast, it is increasing like no one can predict at all. Now you are opening one YouTube video. Okay, today no one is watching your video. Your views will be like 10, 20, 30. Suddenly one of your video will become viral, and suddenly lakhs together people will come to see your videos. So dynamically in real time, we don't know today, tomorrow, or after 1 month, or throughout in next 10 years, there won't be increase in the number at all, or it can increase in 1 day also. We don't know, right? So in that cases and all, we can't go writing our programs with the fixed data types at all. So this was one of the biggest problem with the C programming. Clear? So, but in Python, when we see, so just as a data type, I'm taking a little bit in deeper way, because when we tell like expert programs and all, every topic there are some key points. We have to understand those key points also. Not only just learning with that tool how to use it, like if else if, not only just learning how to use it. There are some key points in that one. So you have to understand that key point. Then it is called like you are into some expert level of programming. Right. So now, so in data types, that was the important part where in C programming the size was fixed, and that was creating an issue. To remove that size method and all, some topic was there called dynamic memory allocations. That was quite different. Okay, but in Python straight away, no, there is nothing called any size. As you go on putting your data into your variables, the size automatically it's going to allocate it. Means in Python, if I declare a variable like okay, here month was there, no? So month, if I declare, you can give any number for it. Okay, so as you go on adding the numbers for that one, it's going to take it. But obviously small limitation will be there. That will be for a very big number. So it won't, there is nothing called size in real time. As per that number, whatever you put data inside that variable, as per that you will allocate the size. So that is one important thing. Second thing is in Python programming, we won't declare any data types at all. So here, when you are declaring a month, I had not mentioned like it's a type of a hint or a float or a string and all, right? So as per your data, what you are assigning, according to that, the data type will be fixed. Now it's a type of a data type of hint only. So now if I write like this, month is equal to 2.3. So automatically it will allocate in the format of a float, because when I'm putting my data in the decimal values, so it will assign the data type for this as a float. Now if I put like my name Shashi, so then automatically it will assign the data in the format of a string. Clear? So just I'll convey all this topic in a single two statements. Basically in Python programming related to the numbers, there are only two types. One is the integer and a float. There is nothing called size limitation over here. Dynamically, when as per your code, it's going to allocate the size. Done. Okay. Now there is nothing called as a character also. There is no character variable. Character data type is not there in Python. See, if I write like hint, the color has been changed, right? Purple color you can find. So this is a keyword. So now if I write a char, see the color has not changed. There is no character data type at all. Okay. So in C program, when we are supposed to, if I want to put a character in this one, means we were writing like this char, then you should be supposed to declare as a single character with a single quote, right? Whenever you want to make it multiple, means then you have to convert into a string. So we were taking the string format like 5. So for that 5, you can write a SAV like this something, right? So 4 characters after that, a single one more, where we are supposed to take a double quote. Many things were there. At the end of the string, there was a null character. So a lot of points were supposed to come if you want to assign like this, right? So now all these things are ruled out here. So you can declare any variable like this month, and anything you can put there. Okay, January, June, whatever you want, you can just put like this. Writing the assigning a data in a string, we can use double quote also, we can use single quote also, both are same. Clear? So the second statement, first statement, what we saw, there is only two numbers like int and float, and there is no size limit at all. Second statement, so there is nothing called as a character here. Everything is a string format. So string can be written in a single quote or in a double quote. Both are same. So all these statements comes with that expression only. So like that, small problems, whatever was there in C, that has been removed in the Python programming. Okay. So then to comment out the things and all, we can use a hash, and oops concepts comes in Python variables. Okay. So again, in C program, we were supposed to use a switch alternate for if else if, and also now switch has been removed. So we can just directly use the if else if statements. Then Python for loops. Okay, so this is with the looping and all. We'll see with the next examples. That one. Okay, this was with a few points with the data types. Okay, so where we were data type declarations and all are not required. Whatever we assign the value, according to that, it's going to consider the type of the data type. Okay, and no characters, all are considered in the string format. It can be in a single quote or it can be in a double quote. Okay. Okay, so now we'll take a small break of 5 minutes. So 10, it's almost 10:30 now. Again, by 10:35, I'll continue with the next session with the next code. Okay, so meanwhile, all of you can just download those codes which has been sent. We have sent a mail also now, sir has sent it. So all the members can download it and you can see those things. Any doubts are there till now, whatever I explained, you can clarify it. I'll come back after by 10:35, I'll continue it. Okay. So I'll continue with the next code now. So the next code is string format. So all of you can just open this code in the idle. So this is the second code. So I'll execute this code now. So some outputs we are finding here. So again, this code is also with the data type concepts only. So we'll see those things. Some methods of printing outputs and all we can see here how it can be clubbed. Because printing the statements in the output screen is important. So here I declared one variable age. So for that 20, when I'm putting, it's a whole number, so it will be type of int now. So one variable name is there. So I'm just putting a name in the string format. Any one method we can follow, like putting in double quote or in a single quote throughout our program. So any one method you can follow it for the variables. Here I'll be making a mixture so that we can understand like this and these methods both are same. Okay, but normally in the programming style, any one single quote or double quote methods we can follow. Okay, so now. So here I'm taking, now I want to print this age 20 and these two variables I want to print it. You can use like one format function is there. With that support we can use it. Like say I have given 0, first age, after that, sorry, first name and age. So that you can print. So you can see the output now. So Swarup was, so whenever you want a statement in middle, you want your data should be printed in a print statement, this method can be followed. So same way there's another method with the two or with the single also, it can be done. Okay. These are just with the printing methods. Okay. So whenever you want to print any statement in middle, if I want some, our variable data I want to take means I can take it. And this is another method also where I declared a variable X. See, in this variable, it's a combination where name is there, right? That is a string. Again, this is it's a not stored variable something. So directly I'm using it here. But again, it's a string here. Then age, since I'm taking everything in this one, so I'm converting age also into a type of string. Now that 20 will be in the format of a string over here. So now everything is a string. So I'm storing in a variable X and print X. So that output also you can get it. So any one method of printing, we can follow it. So this is the output of it. Okay. And this with like age, the number will be printed directly. If you want also, you can print it. Okay. So where /n is for the new line character. Okay. And /t is the tab. If you want a space, tabbing and all means you can use the /t /. So /n and /t. So here you can see age at 20. So that 20 got printed and new line character /n is there. So it came for the next line. Then the name Swarup got printed. After that, welcome. Okay. So then tab over there /t. So that tabbing space you can find here. Giving here space doesn't matter that you can see a name that is the Swarup. I had given a space here, right? So this space won't apply for the output. So in this code, I had just shown different types of printing. Okay. So whenever you want to print anything on the output screen, just follow this method. Yes. Okay, so we have seen some printing methods over here, different types of strings and integers, and if you want to print it, how it can be printed, that I had explained in this program. Okay. So till now, whatever we discussed with today's session, if any doubts are there, you can clarify, and you can run both the codes which I explained now. Regarding that part, any doubts are there, you can clarify. So I'll just wait for 1 or 2 minutes and I'll continue with the next code. Any doubts, any discussions is there, so you can just clarify it. Okay, so now we'll continue with the next one again with variables. This is the third code. So type of assigning the variables and all. So first I'm executing the code now. So you can see some outputs here. Okay. See in this code, like whenever you want to initialize any of your data to the variables, some different methods are there that I'm printing over here. Normally as a beginner, like if you are in the programming areas as a beginner means, no need to get into these kind of stuffs because these are required only for some interview questions and all. For in that time it is required just to understand like as a confusion methods or how all these things works in the programming language. To understand that, those things are required, but we can make it in a simple also if you want to as a beginner. When you get into the next levels and all, that time we can concentrate. As a beginner level, these kind of things reading is not required. Where it says our time, our intention is to get into programming, right? Okay, so in that case these small points are not required as a beginner part. So just to cover that one, I'm explaining this code. Means as a beginner, when we start, right, we have to understand now which one is a very important part so that we can come out with some results. Then again, fine tuning, always it will be there. Better things will be there. So that you can take for the second level, third level, fourth level. So that understanding is important to learn any topic. So here I just want to convey that message. So where these things are not required in the beginner level. Okay. So now come to the code part. So here I'm just assigning a variable initialization. So we call normally data initializations. When you declare a variable, when you are initializing some data for that, all these methods can be followed. Now XYZ is there. I've written in a single line only, and I've put it 3 initial values, string data like orange, banana, cherry, and all. So when you do those things, like how it will be stored, I'm printing XYZ. So like the orange will be stored in X, and banana will be stored in variable Y, and cherry will be stored in Z. These things can be done in a 3 different line also, where you can write X is equal to orange, in the second line Y is equal to banana, and third line Z is equal to cherry. That is very clearly we understand, right? So these kind of confusions are not required in the beginning stages. Okay. So, but normally how the Python compiler will understand these things and all, it's important to learn that one, that we can take it to the second stage and third stage of learning. Okay, right. So when you declare in a single line, when we initialize some values and all, so that time it will follow the order, like first from left side, first one. So same way on the right side, first one, it is going to assign it. So that is the type 1 of printing. Now, if you want to put any same data in 3 different values, some initial values you want to put it in the 3 different variables with the same data, that time you can assign in this format, like X equals Y equals Z equals that data. So you can find, like when I'm printing X, Y, Z, all the 3 are there here. Clear? Okay, this is another type. So here, third type is there. I've written some statements here. All of you can just go through with that. Unpack a collection. If we have a collection of values in a list, tuple, etc., Python allows you extract the values into variables. Unpack a list. See here, you are seeing something with a great bracket, right? These all are called as a list. List tuples are the replacements of C with respect to arrays and structures. Okay, so there here as a data structures we get some other different words. Those are called as a list, tuple, dictionary, sets, and all will get. So that we'll see again in other examples. Normally in Python programming, arrays is ruled out. Okay, in arrays again that was a problem with the array, where your data size you have to assign it. Means how many data you are going to keep in that array. You have to assign it. Array means basically when you have a bunch of similar data. Structure is basically where you have a bunch or a group of unsimilar data. So dissimilar data means it's a type of a hidden string. The all combination we tell it as a structure. Okay. Now I have some 10 values. I want to add it. All those 10 values you can put it in an array. Okay, 10 values. Like in real time, if I tell in a week, daily, I'm getting some daily earning. Okay, daily salaries I'm getting. So that I want to store it somewhere. So you declare in one array. You tell like the day. If I take from Monday to Saturday, so the first one I'll put it in the first location of the array. Then Tuesday second location. That salary I'll put it in the array. So that the 6 days is fixed, right? So like that. So the where you have to declare an array where it will be having a size of 6 data. How many data you are going to keep in that array, that you have to declare in the beginning only. So as I told with the data size also, again the array size in real time, obviously it will change. It's not fixed for many applications. Okay, so that case that was getting with the problems. So array size was fixed. When you have like I want to put my salaries per day salary over there with the money, and who paid me the salary, I want to put his name also. Means not instead of paid, I'm doing all small freelancer work through which I got that money. I got with this work, I got with that work. So that work name you want to put. The work name is a string. So both combined you have to put somewhere, right? Then we are supposed to declare the structures for that. So we have to make one structure. Inside that structure, one will be an integer array with all these numbers, and another one from where I got that money that I was supposed to mention. Where I was supposed to mention that one through which method I got that money. That is a string. Again, I have to declare a string type and store it, and you bunch it in a structure. So that was the method what we were doing with the C and all. So in Python, those things are totally different. Okay, so that we'll see in the next sample code. So here I'm using a type of a list. What is the list and all? We'll see later. So time being, just see like. Put up means this was done here before in the strings arrays and different methods was there. Now here in Python the methods are different. So type 3. Now see, there is a fruit. It's a type of a list. Even here the list data types are not assigned. The way you put your data internally, it's going to assign. So if I write a code like this, okay. So fruits, if I, yes, fruits is equal to apple, then it's a type of a string. But when I'm putting 3 data with some great bracket, it's automatically becoming a type of a list. Okay, so data types we are not assigning. Once we put our data into that, automatically where it has to be kept, in which type it has to be assigned, everything is taken care internally. So fruits is a type of a list where with a great bracket symbol, I put out some 3 strings over here. Print length of fruits. So length is a keyword to find out the length, means to find out how many data are there in that. Okay. So you see here 3 is printed. So the length, since I have 3 data, 3 is printed. Then XYZ. Now I want to split it. So in this 3 data, that I want to split into 3 different variables. So where I'm taking XYZ is equal to fruits, then print XYZ, it's getting printed. Okay. So this is another sample code. So all of you can execute it. Any doubts you can clarify. So meanwhile, I'll move with the next one. So for after every code execution, I'll be just giving a small 1 minute, 2 minutes time. So all of you can run in your system also. Any key points, if you want to note down, you can note down. So again, in after 1 minute, I'll continue with this explanation. So the next code you can keep open and you can execute and see if else if. Okay, so I'll execute this code now. So it is asking enter an integer. So I'll type like 24. So again, it is asking like no, it's a little lower than that. Little lower than that, I have to enter. So I'll enter 22. Little higher than that. So then 23. Congratulations. So project end you're finding, right? So few concepts I will cover over here now. Okay. Right. So I'm taking one variable number 23. So in this code, I want to explain like if else if how it is declared, how we are going to use it and all. And we can see a small looping concept also. And with the break statements. So all these things I'm going to cover in this code. Okay. So we'll see like if else if part, break, and with the loops. Yeah. Okay. So now first is the while loop here. I had declared a loop. So any work you want to keep it repeatedly, if you want to do, then we can get into the looping part. In yesterday's class, already I told like Python works with the space indent. Normally, we won't use any flower brackets like this. Where in C we were supposed to use these kind of flower brackets to declare every block and all. So here, no flower bracket concepts. So you have to maintain the right spacing with the tab or with the space. So follow that one. Okay. Second thing is, say for loops and with the if statements and all, we are going to use at the end as a colon. These are the points to remember. This is how the Python syntax works. So we just need to remember these things and we have to practice it in our regular code. So if you are not mentioning it, will put up an error. Now see, I'll run this code now. So you can see that I removed that colon there. So once I remove invalid syntax, right? So these colons and all are required correctly. So we have to keep it in the mind when we starts up working. So I'll delete this. See. So invalid syntax. So we needed colons for the loops and if statements. Okay. Okay. Okay, so while loop is there. So looping, where it is used, looping is one tool for that. While for and all are used. The purpose of looping is whenever we want to do any work repeatedly. So when I showed my first code, in that also some if condition was there, right? But it was not with any looping and all. So when you want something has to be done repeatedly, then you can get into the loops. Okay. So for loop here, we are going to put up some condition. Here I made it as a true, means this while loop all time it is a true. So when you write like this all time true loops, so somewhere in your loop with some condition, the break statement should be there so that you come out with that loop. If this break is not there, means the code never comes out of this loop at all. Okay. So it will be there in the same loop only. Now, okay. So first initially I had taken one variable as 23 I had assigned there, then input enter an integer. So I'll run this now. So it's asking us to enter an number in the keyboard. So I'll enter like 25. Okay. And I'll press enter. So that 25 which I entered, right? That is stored in this variable guess. Okay. So there is an if condition. If guess is equal to number, our number was 23, right? So 25 is equal to 23. When you are comparing these things in any conditional statements, then you have to use double equals. Single equals, if you give this number will be assigned to this. Normally in Python it puts an error. See, if I run this, you can see that it puts an error again. Okay, fine. So double equals is required. Okay. From first I'll run. So enter a number, I'll enter 26. So right now in guess 26 is there and number 23 is there. So first condition, if I am checking with the double equals, so it's not true, right? So it will go for the else if. So guess is less than 23. In guess what we have? We have 26. 26 less than 23. No, again, it's a false statement, right? So then when both these are false, then by default, this else will run. Okay. When you have like a option, when these two are false, then obviously this has to run miss. Then you can write with the else condition. Otherwise, if you want to put up any conditions elements, you can go with the else if only. Else is a default part. When if and other if else if conditions are not running executing means all are coming as false means by default this will be executed. So here I'm printing no later lower than that. So something lower value I have to enter. So for compared to this, I have to put some lower value. Now I'll put like 20. So little lower than that, and the loop is repeating again, right? So again, enter an integer. So I enter 20. So and 20 equals, so here false. So this will be the true statement now because 20 is less than 23. So that time it is printing like no, it's later higher than that. So again, the loop will repeat. So out of this if else, any one block is going to run, right? When all the if else if are false, then only by default else will run. Now once this is running, automatically it will other this and all won't get executed, means the else block won't get executed. So how many numbers of if else if you want, you can write it, but in this one any one will be executed. So now here else if got executed, so again it will repeat in the loop. So I enter an integer, so I'll enter the number 23. So now it came up to project end. So 23, the first if condition is getting satisfied. So it printing some statements and break. So break is a keyword which will take the control out of the inner loop. It is taking control out of the inner loop, not with the if. Okay. Whenever you write a break, it should be inside some loop only. Okay. Without loop, you can't write any break statements at all. Okay. So if you are using a break, the loop has to be there. See. Here this is my first code which I executed. In this there is no loop at all. Inside if I am writing a break outside loop, there is no loop here, right? So without any loop blocks we can't write any break is not for any if blocks and all. It is used for the looping conditions. Clear? So break always comes with the loops. So here when this break executes, it takes the control out of the while loop. So break, it comes out of the while and project end statement will be printed. So all of you can just see that statement you can see in the output. Yeah. So in this code, I tried to explain the way how if else if and all works, how we can declare those things and break loops and all we are seeing. Fine. So all members can run these codes and any doubts are there, you can clarify. Okay, next we'll get into the loop part. Okay. The first loop code I had opened now, 3-1. So you can see the output of it. So again here while loop only I had mentioned. So we'll see while and for loop. So whenever we get into the loop part, some three concepts are very important. One is the initial value for like the loop from where it has to start. Means basically when you have counting type of thing or condition, like it has to start from one means some source like that. Okay. Then the condition where it has to stop. Basically, if you take counting examples and all, so that acts as a condition. And the third one is so that it gets incremented from start to stop, it has to reach, right? So how many times it has to run. So in a step of 1 or in a step of 5, 3, 2, whatever the increment procedure should be there. So based on that, some increments. So whenever we want to repeat the work multiple times, get into the loop. Okay. So we have to use the loop for or while loop we can use. Basically, some three concepts comes into picture. That is, one is the initial value, second one is the conditions, and third one is the increment. So here I'm just taking a variable count is equal to 1 while count is less than 3. Then count plus plus inside the loop, count is equal to count plus 1, then print count. So the first statement of the count will be 2 because here count is 1, count plus 1, right? So it is becoming incremented here with a step of 1. So 2 is getting printed. Then the count value was 2, right? The loop repeats. 2 is less than 3 is a true statement. Then count, add 1 for that. Now it became 3. Print that one. Then 3 is less than 3. So it's a false statement. It comes out of the loop of this while loop. Okay. Now there is another type of it. Here you can see that another type. Say print empty. If you give this, it will just create a blank space over there. So in the output, small blank is created. Then output type 2, same example I am taking here, but here there is an else block. So again, this is not required in the initial levels and all. So later you can just consider like for a while also we can write an else. This is a separate part of Python programming. So as an initial programmers, these things are not required because these are done with other methods also. So after a while, whatever has to run, that you can write it in the else part. So after same while code what I written here, so again same output will find 2 and 3. Once it comes out of the while loop, it is printing like else block and coming out. Okay. So the simple way to understand with the loop is three things are important: initial value, then conditions, then our increment. Okay. Means always when you write a loop, there should be some method to come out of the loop. That is important. Now next nested loop I had written here with a for loop. Okay, first we'll see the for. All of you can run this code. 3 is there, no? For 1. So this you can run. After that we'll get into the nested loop. So now we'll see the sample with the for loop. The way of writing for loop is quite different from C methods. If everyone would have known with the C, so here the way of writing is quite different. So we'll just see that one now. Okay. So output type 1. See, for loop for I is one variable in range, then here some two constraints are there. Okay. So in this two constraint, the first one acts as a initial value and second one acts as a condition. Clear? So I is a variable, for that the initial value is 1 and the condition is 5. Okay, till it reaches this condition, the initial value, till it reaches this condition, the loop is going to run. So we are not mentioning here like I is less than 5, that is considered automatically. Okay, so in the condition you have to put the condition reasons. So the condition number I have put it, till it reaches that, it's going to execute. Now you can see like for I in the range, the output of the first one, I am printing only the value of I. So if you go and see the output, you can see here like since I value is 1, initial value, that is here mentioned here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So then when I value becomes 5. So it is checking for less than condition, not for less than or equal to, only for less than. So 5 less than 5 is a false statement, it comes up. Okay. So the method of writing for loop is quite different. So all of you can see here, the first one is the initial value and second one is the condition. And now we can check with the second type of the output here. So here in the range I have just put it. Everything is same, only in the range I have put it only one value over there, that is 5. If you are mentioning only one value, then it is considered as a condition. Okay. If we are mentioning only one value in the for loop, then that the first value is considered as a condition. See, this I'll explain in the arrays. Normally when we in arrays we tell like arguments and all. Here the arguments are not in some ordered methods and all is not there. That is a different concept. So in Python, little bit with the arguments and all, it works in a different format. That I'll explain in the next codes with arrays. So this is the method of writing some standard syntax of for loop is that. So if you are mentioning two values in the range, the first one is the initial and second one is the condition. If you are mentioning only one value inside the range, the one value what you mentioned, that will behave like a condition. It's not an initial value. Okay. So now for I in range condition. So now you can see. So the initial value by default it is starting from 0. So when you have the values which has to start directly from 0 means then no need to mention that initial value. So by default the value is 0. So it has started from 0 and it is printing from all the values. So here see one more thing, in the loop the increment was required, right? When we are not mentioning any increment value also, even default increment value is 1. Okay, so that's why here it's incrementing in the step of 1, 2, 3, 4, and here initial value also is not mentioned, so default is 0. So it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 4 because we have mentioned only. Yeah. So as I told while explaining while loop, basically looping comes with three concepts. One is the initial value, conditions, and increment. So in for loop, if you are not mentioning your initial and conditions, if you are mentioning only the initial and increment, then only with the condition if you mention, then the initial value is 0 and increment will be in a step of 1. Clear? So up to this, any doubts are there, you can just clarify so that I'll continue with the next part. So clear, right? So next we'll see the third part. Okay. So another method of writing. So here inside the range I have mentioned all the some three values I mentioned 1, 10, and 2. Like three values here. At that time, the first one will act as the initialization, second one is the condition, and third one is the increment. Okay. Now you can see value of I is printing the 1, the initial value since I mentioned as 1, and as mentioned the increment step as 2. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and the condition is up to 10, right? So after 9, when it gets incremented 11, so 11 less than 10 is a false statement of the loop. Clear? So even we can mention all these three things. When you mention three values here, the first one acts as an initial, second one acts as a condition, third one acts as an increment. Okay, so the output 4, you can see like here I started initial value with 0. Okay, so 10 and 2, so that's why it's printing with the even numbers like 0, 2, 4, 8. So after 8, 10, 10 less than 10 is a false statement, so it comes out of the loop. Then the last type output type 5, initial value 1, condition 10, increment in 3. So it's incrementing in a step of 3. Yeah. So this is with the for loop syntax. So next code is a nested loop is there. So all of you can open the code nested loop. So some output I am printing here, box quality per box. So all members can take small time to observe this code. See codes and output both I'm assigning like left and right method. So whenever you are observing, observe like this to understand the code by line or with at least with block of lines. Okay. So in that method, if you want to understand, we have to compare with those print statements, then only we can understand the flow of it. So here some loops are there. Observe the tabbing methods also. How the tabbing is done. So I had given some application name for this, like material packing. So that's why I'd use the word here, box quantity and all. Just go through with that, observe the outputs. So I'll be explaining this thing in 2 minutes. Okay, so I'll explain this now. So nested loop means inside one loop, again, we can write multiple loops. Okay. So when I want the job should be done in some sequences based on 2, 3 conditions or like multiple sequence. So in that case, we can get into the nested loop. Like today you do this work 5 times. So 5 times doing that work today is a one loop. Then repeat this work for next 10 days. So every day do it 5 times. So the 10 days acts as the outer loop, and in that in each day doing it 5 times acts as a inner loop. Clear? So when I have these conditions, that time it will act like a nested loop. Same method, like I want in hour. For every hour you do it 3 times. So in a day you do it 10 times and do it for next 20 days. So it comes as a 3 loops. 20 days is the full outer loop condition. In 20 days for each day do it 10 times, right? So that is the first inner loop. Okay. In each day for every hour you do it 3 times, that acts as a one more inner loop. So now I give an example of 3 nested loops. So in this way, when you have this kind of requirement, so nesting inside one loop, again one more, inside that one more. So that is called nesting. Clear? Okay. So now I have taken an example here with the code as a material packing. Material, normally a box will be there, inside that box some pieces, right? So we generally use the word dozens and all, half dozen, like that. Okay, so now bottle packings are there, one box where it can take 6 bottles or 6 cups, kind of thing. So a machine has to do that counting, the box and all. So I had given here box, so it has to start from box 1. Okay, and maximum it has to work up to 4 box. So I mentioned less than or equal to. So this is the outer loop. So box is the outer loop for me. Okay, so understand this code with the examples. Okay, the way of example I'm telling, because box, why box only comes out of loop, because the box inside that we are going to put some bottles, right? So the bottles comes as a inner loop. So like that it is. So box, initialization is done, then the condition, box greater than or sorry, box less than or equal to 4. So 4 box I have now. So I have to do that counting. So I had given a condition up to 4 now. Then print the box count, the first box. So that is the box count is equal to 1. So this is for the first box. Now I am writing one inner loop. I am using for. See, we can use while or for, whichever your comfort you use it. Okay. What is the plus advantage, disadvantages of while for? Those things are not required for initial levels. Whichever you feel is easy to understand for you, go with that. Okay. So for quantity, one variable I taken in range 1 and maximum quantity. So maximum quantity here I had given a declaration of 25, and 1 I have mentioned here. Okay, so maximum quantity is something I had given, means I have 25 bottles. Okay, like that, something or 25 materials I have now. So that is the materials total I have. Again, I had given a if condition over here, quantity is equal to 6, put a break. So where in each box I have to put 6. Total I have 25 boxes. Okay, but in each box I have to put 6. So that time I had given a condition here 6. So inside for loop starts from 1, maximum quantity is 25. So the quantity per box. So the first quantity, that is the 1, I'm printing, then it will check with the if condition. Quantity is equal to 6. No, 1 equals 6 is a false statement. The inner for loop repeats. So this will repeat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 6 equals 6, break. What break will do? It will take the control out of the inner loop. One inner loop means will come out of this for loop, not with a while. Okay. Now here nested loops are there. Inside one loop, another loop is there. Break takes control out of the inner loop. So we come out of this for now. Once you come out of the for, again the box count. Already it was incremented here. So now the box count is 2. So you can see that 2. So second box came. So again the quantity and all. So it is working. Clear? So so in this code I had shown the mixture of using a nested loop, for, while, combination. Then with the conditions also you make use of a break also. So like this it will repeat for 4 times. So you can see third one and a fourth one in the output. So till the 4 box counting completes, it will be repeating. Clear? So to understand each and every tool, syntax, methods of any programming language, Python or anything, so we have to work with these kind of sample codes. Now all of you are just going with the codes and you are understanding it and you are observing it, right? So, but to learn with the programming, we have to type these codes, read in internet or books. Nowadays, net is always preferred. We get updated things over there. Get into the net, and a lot of tools, libraries are available. So go on practicing those codes, type the codes and all. And whichever concept you want to learn, for every concept, there should be one sample code. So with the code, we'll understand what it is. Okay? So instead of just going with those theory, statement, observation, you want to learn for if any concept. Okay, how to declare a data type or integers, some keywords meaning, if you want to understand functions, any concept, any topic, type a code for it and keep it that code. So continuously we have to write the codes, or by typing the codes only we'll get some grip in the programming. Okay, so this is with the nested loop concept. All members can run this. If any doubts are there, you can clarify it. So now we completed with the loop sessions. So the next is with the global and local variables. So I prefer to take a small 5 minutes break for every 1 hour. It's okay, I think. So again, I'll continue the session by 11:35 after some 5 minutes. So meanwhile, all the members can check the things. So short break, I'll just mention here. So we'll continue by
Shashikant sir,
35. Yes, sir.
give short break for 10 minutes so that everyone will become.
Okay. Actually, by 10:30, I gave 5 minutes. Fine, sir. No problem.
Oh, no issue. Then you can give 5. No issue.
Okay. 5 to 10 minutes. Fine. By 11:40, I'll continue again. Okay.
Okay. So I request all the participants be online. Take a short break, and the session will be continued by at 11:40. I request all the participants to be in the online only.
No. This is basically electrical control. IT department is the electrical. No, electrical. Similar to electrical. Take leave and come or apply afterwards. I again it's going to start in afterwards. Apply leave. Not sir. From which university? For which subject? Okay, second subject. The state notes are good. State. PAT in review, Karnataka. Yours is your own notes. You have written. Why it is Xerox? Why it is Xerox? Hmm. Hmm. Original notes you have given.
So I'll continue with the next program now. So meanwhile, any doubts, any discussions is there, you can interact. The next code is global and local. So all members can open this code and execute. Just observe the code lines and see those output statements. So within 2 minutes, I'll explain. So the code is global and local. So normally when we declare any of our data, right? So we tell like declaring those variables in the as a global variable and as a local variable. So we'll try to understand what does it mean and how it differs and all. Okay. So that is one thing. So in this code, even I had used the function method. So how to write a function, how to define a function, we'll see that part also. Okay. So later with one more example, we'll see with the function definitions, parameters of the functions. Right. Now I declared two variables x is equal to 50 and y is equal to 20. These are called as a global variables. Okay. And here these are the function definitions. So if this code is having two functions. Whenever we write code in C method, C or structure method, function methods written now. So in the beginning of this today's session, I told like the overall project task what you are having, you have to split up into multiple tasks. The way of thinking is where you have to divide all your work into multiple functions. So that is the important for programming, right? So here in this code, I have just mentioned two functions here. So one is the global local something name I had given, another one global local one like that I had given. So in Python, which are the functions? Here I'm telling with the writing your complete project code in a single file. When you write it in multiple files, the methods are different. Okay. So I am just taking an example where we are writing the code, my complete project code in a single file. Okay. So now when you are writing everything in a single file, then before calling the function definition should be written above it. Okay. Means we have to write all our function definitions first. Then you call those functions or use those functions in your project. Okay. So in your code, that is the method which we have to follow in the Python programming. Means I'll just repeat it. So before making use of a function or calling the functions, the function definitions, the content of the functions, we have to write it in the beginning of the code. Okay, right. So first I had mentioned some variables here. These variables are called global variables. I'll tell what's the meaning of it and all. Okay. Okay, so here two function definitions are there. I have written the content of the function here. The functions are represented with the keyword def. So def is the keyword for the function definitions. Clear? Okay. Now you can see the first function call. So I am calling the function global local x. So x is a variable which we call it as an argument or a parameters. For the functions, what are the data we are passing or the function definitions when you declare the prototype of the function. So that time here what you write, no, those are called as the arguments or the parameters. Now x is a variable. When I'm calling this function, I'm passing the variable x. So in x what we have 50, right? That 50 is passed to this function. Now the code from this line, it will come to here and 50 is taken in x and print x. See, this x variable and this x variable both are different. Both we had given the same variable name, but both are different. Here this is a global variable. Global variable means that variable is available for all the functions. All the functions can make use of it. Clear? That is the meaning of the global variable. When you declare any variables like here x and all is there, no? So this is called as a local variable, means this is used only inside that function. You can't use this variable x outside the function. That is called as a local variable. So I'll repeat it. Global variables means the variables or data what we declare outside all the functions are called as a global variable, which we can make use inside any functions. Okay. Global variables are declared outside, which can be used inside any function. When we tell local variable, those are declared inside the functions, and within that function we can use it. Outside that function we can't use that variable at all. That is called as a local variable. Clear? Normally when we write our codes in the beginning levels, we should not use same variable names, because unnecessarily it's going to create confusion for us. Okay, same variable names and usage method, we have to avoid it. Okay, because unnecessarily it will create the confusions. Here, since I want to explain some of the topics, I had given those variable names. And even in our programming habits, we should not use the variable names like x, y, z and all. We have to give some specific names so that we can understand it. Some meaning has to be there for all our coding methods, means with the variable names or with the function names and all. Some meaningful name we have to use it, so that it helps us to understand the code. Okay, so this is not the method of writing the code like using x, y, z and all. Since these I am using for the explanation methods, I have done it. Okay, and same variable names, and also we should not do it because unnecessarily it's going to create the confusions. We have to use different names always. Yeah. Okay. Right. So now when I'm calling the function global local, the x. So in x50 is that is passed over here. Inside that function, the first statement is x print that x value. So you can see that 50 is printed, right? Okay. Because I'm passing 50 to the local variable. In local variable, that 50 is stored, that is getting printed. Now I am replacing the value of local variable x is equal to 2. This x and this x both are different. Okay. So now I am replacing with the 2. So then change local x something, I'm printing that x value. So you can see in the output screen 2 is printed. Done. Okay. Now I came out of this function, the function part completed, right? So once I come out of this function, now the code will come to the next one. Once I come out of this function, this local variable is going to die. Means the space allocated for that local variable is freed. It will be freed. So so that space is free now. That space can be used for some other purpose. Clear? Okay. So now, next in the code, I'm calling another function global local one something. So here there is no argument. Without argument also, we can call the functions. We can write the function. So here inside this, I'm printing y. So y I'm printing, right? So y refers to this global variable 20. So that 20 is getting printed. So global variables you can use in any function. So I'm using it and I'm printing it, right? So now the code came out of this function also. Then print x. X value when I'm printing it, see it is printing 50, right? Means this x variable got died. Means that space has been freed. The existence of this x was there only in this function. Now it is freed. Then print y. So you can see that 20 got printed. The understanding about the global and local is required when we start up doing some bigger projects, because see, when you start up declaring initial level, I'll suggest declare everything as a global. That won't create much more confusions. Okay, but in real time, when we get into some better programming concepts, we have to understand our variables, where I'm going to use it. If you want to use those variables throughout your program at different stage, make it as a global variable. If you want to use any variables, any one point of time, so related to that task, so make it as a global with respect to that function. And once you come out of that function, the space is freed for you so that you can use it. So that's a very simple way to understand this thing is, as a coming back to the kitchen example. The kitchen space, normally it will be smaller. So there is one more called as a storeroom, right? So in the kitchen regularly, which I am going to use it for different tasks. Okay. Those things I'll keep it in the kitchen and a small quantity, right? Whichever I'm going to use very rare. So you'll keep it in another room or in the storeroom somewhere. So you bring that one from there and use it. Once that work is done, go and keep back over there so that your kitchen space is saved. Got it. So same way here also, very rare use things you put up inside the functions only, which is used only inside that function. So once that function you complete that task, once you come out of that function, the space is freed so that that space can be used for some other applications. Clear? So this is the method of local and global variable. So this is one important concept when we write some better programmings and all. The variable declaration methods are all very important. So now we'll get into the next code, function keyword. So again, functions working in Python is quite different compared to C. In C, few limitations was there, and that has been solved over here. See, normally any field, when we get into some upgrade versions, new versions and all, obviously the older versions problems will be solved over there. So same things, we are able to find out few things with the Python. So what all small issues was there in the C that has been solved in the Python programming. So this is the next code, function keyword. All of you can just observe it once. Within 2 minutes, I'll start the explanation. So run the code, see the output. Observation means you have to compare it. Now we understood some of the flows, right? So now you can do the observation of it. So see that why those outputs are coming with respect to those print statements and all. Okay, so I'll continue with this explanation now. Right. So here we'll see some more points with respect to the functions. Okay. So now in this code, I have declared two functions. Those function definitions you can see on top of the code. Before calling, we have to declare it. The definitions has to be written before calling the functions, right? So one I had given a name as a FUNC and FUNC2 short form of function like that. So for defining the function, we will use the keyword as a df. Wherever you find df, it means that it's a function, right? Okay. So now first I am calling this function without any parameters. Okay. So, but this function definition is having 3 parameters or arguments. We call it as a parameter or an argument. So here 3 parameters are there, which are with some initial values, right? And I'm calling this without any parameter, right? See, this thing was not allowed in C. In C, whenever you call any functions, what are the count of those parameters are there? All those things you have to mention whenever you're calling it. But here, those things is not required because these parameters are there with some initial values. When you are not passing any value for these parameters, it will work with the default values. Okay. If you are interested to pass some value for A, it should not be with a value of 1. It should be something else, then pass that value. You believe that for this requirement, for this task, the value of A should be 20. So then pass that value. If you are not interested to pass any value, don't pass it. That time it works with the default values. Okay. So the function definition should be written with some default values. Clear? I'll just repeat it. In Python programming, the function parameters usage, always we have to define with some initial values so that whenever you are calling, if required, if you want to change those initial values, then only mention in your calling. Otherwise, no need to mention in those function calls because whenever I am not passing, means if I am not passing any parameters in my function call, obviously it works with the initial values. So now the first method, I'm not passing any initial value at all. So here 3 values has been assigned for A, B, C, 1, 5 and 10. So I'm just printing those A, B, C. So now you can see that the first print is A is equal to 1 and B is 5 and C is 10. Clear? Now, second time I'm calling the same function where I'm passing through 2 parameters, that is 3 and 7. When I'm passing 2 parameters, that it will go in the order method. So 3 will be replaced in A and 7 will be replaced in B, right? And for C, I'm not passing any value. So that will work with the default value. So A is 3, B is 7 and C is 10. Clear? So where whatever the value I'm passing, that is getting replaced over there and that is getting printed. Means we can use that values inside the function. Clear? Now see the third method. In third method where I'm passing 25 first parameter and second parameter I'm initializing. See, here my intention is like I don't want to pass any value to the second parameter. So I have to pass value to the third parameter. So that time you have to specify the parameter name. So here function 25 when I pass, that will go get replaced for the first parameter. Then C is equal to 24. So I am specifying the parameter name. So that time it will go and replaced in the C value. So B value by default, whatever is there, that gets printed. So you can see the output here. A is equal to 25. Whatever I'm passing, B I have not passed anything, so default value. So C I am specifying it in the second position. So that will be replaced in the C. Means the order of parameters are not important. Whichever the parameter you want to mention, mention it, mention with those parameter name. Okay. So the 24 is getting replaced here. And so the third method here also, see the orders are not important. Again, C is equal to 50 I'm giving, and since I'm specifying the name of those parameter, A is equal to 100. So it's not like A has to come first only. That rule and all is not there. Since I am specifying C is equal to 50, so C is replaced here. A is equal to 100. So A will be replaced here and B default value. So you can see the output. 100, 5 and 50. Here. Now, next function to one more type I am keeping. So here I am passing value 34 and 15. B is equal to 15. See here, what is the difference between these two is in function 2, A is not having any initial value. When you don't have any initial value, then compulsory we have to pass some values. Okay. So where function call is, we are going to have, and some values has to be passed for that function call means, then don't specify any initial value. So that time we can pass the values through when I'm calling the function. So here 34 is getting replaced in A. B 5 was there when I'm passing 15, that gets replaced. C default 10. So that you can see here. Clear? So after running this thing, what you can do is here I given a comment of it. Okay, so see, I'll remove this comment and I'll run. So now you can see that what will happen. See, the code executed at to this point, and then it is giving an error at this point, right? So these are called as a runtime errors. See, there are two types of error notification. One is runtime error and another one is the compilation error. Compilation error, whenever it is compiling your code, that time only it will pop up an error like this is the wrong method of writing the code. Like say I'll put some colon here. Okay, now I'll run this code. Say invalid syntax. So this is called as a compilation error, where the software is checking what are the code you have written, some the standard methods you have followed or not, or you have done any mistakes. So the colon should not supposed to become here. So it is identifying this and it is telling it is not executing your code at all. It has done some observation and it has checked it and it is popping up the error. So this is called as a compilation error. While compiling your code while observing your code, the error came. Now these errors are not called as a compilation error. While executing the code, see the code started executing here, all these 4 lines it executed. When it came to this line, it is coming up with some problems, so it is popping up an error. These are called as a runtime error. See what error it is printing. It is presenting like missing required positional argument. So the parameter or the argument is missing because in the function definition, A is not having any initial value. Since we are not passing any initial value, it is popping an error. So now I'll pass an initial value as 50. So once I pop that, once I pass the value 50, now you can see like the errors are not coming, it is working. Here. So when the functions parameters or arguments are not having any initial value, I have to specify that one when I'm calling the function. Clear? So all members can check these things with the function code and all. So any doubts, anything is there, you can clarify me. So I'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes. So meanwhile, you can test the code. Again, I'll continue after 2 minutes. So now I'll continue with the next topic now. Code number 6, you can execute now on the code. So I executed the code, some outputs you can see here now. Okay, this is the last code of Python sessions and all. So now we'll see the code explanation of this. See the functions, loops, and if statements, all those were the method of writing the codes, the way of handling those syntax and all, right? So now we'll enter more into the data type parts. Okay. So the initial data types, what we know was hint, float, strings, all those things. No? So there is a other data types. We saw in one example with the list, right? So that part we are going to see it here. So when you have bunch of data, when you have a single data, one type of data is limits, then we'll be using a int, the float and all, where we won't declare it. Once you give the variable name, it will be stored inside that, right? So that is with the basics data types. But when you have a bunch of data, combinations of the data, like it can be a hint, float, character, those combinations I have. Okay. So in that case, because in real-time world, when we get into the applications, we'll be having a combination of the data, right? So if I want a form to be filled about all your personal details, your mobile number is an integer number, right? So your name, everything is a string. So like that, it's a combination of the data will be there. So that time we need some strong data handling methods. So those all comes under the field of data structures. So this code is a basic first level introduction about those things. So how many types we have, just we'll see in Python what our options are there for that. Okay. Okay. So we get some different types here. One is the list, then tuple, set, dictionary. Other than that, still a lot of other things are there. So here I'm taking an example of 4 types. See, as a beginner level, all these 4 types, around 70% it does the similar job. Okay. But there are some areas where list is good. There are some areas where tuple is good, set is good, or dictionary is good like that. So this there are some good points and negative. Okay, for these kind of things, list is not suitable. You have to go with the tuple. These points and all are there. But for the beginner level, I suggest like don't mess up with that part, which is good, which is bad, where it is good, where it is bad. Those things are not required as a beginning level. Beginner level, I'll suggest like any one method when you start of writing codes, follow any one method, because our intention is to learn the programming and write the codes, right? Later in the second stage and third stage, we'll go for the next level option. Okay, this work if you do with this, it's still better. That is for that we have to keep always as a second level or the third level of learning. Okay, so in the first level of learning, we follow any one method. So I suggest to use list or a tuple. Okay, but here as a sample, we see how to use those things and all. Okay, fine. So first one is the list. So you can give any name for your list. Okay, so here I had given some strings over there. I'll maximize it. See, I declared a list where there are some strings here, some fruits names, apple, banana, and all. Repetition also you can do it. And I kept some integer value 25 also there. Some whole number I kept it, right? So I declared this list, then print the list. So whatever data is stored, I'm printing it. All those things are getting printed. So repetitions, whatever you want, you can do it. So we can see that everything is getting printed. So lists are identified with a great bracket symbol. Done. Okay. So wherever we see great bracket, that is the meaning of a list. Fine. So print this. So that I printed. Then the list example. One more. This is an empty list. So great bracket indicates it's a type of a list. Nothing data I have initialized here. So it's in the declaration. It acts like a empty list. Nothing is there. Then through programming method, you want to push data into the list. You can use the method of using append. So using a append method list dot append, you can push data to the list. So I'm pushing first 5, then 10, 15, and 20. Then print. So that I'm printing it. So you can see like that list appended with a great bracket symbol. You're getting it 5, 10, 15, 20. That order you are able to see, right? So now to put data into the list, we can use the word called as a append, right? Now to remove data from the list, we can use the word called as a pop. So list example dot pop. So it's going to remove that pop. Once I call one pop, after that I'm printing that pop. You can see like the last which I pushed, it has been removed, right? So then pop 0. 0 means the location of 0th location. So that is removed. So now see it is stored in an order. So this is with the location 0, 1, 2, and 3. So when I'm mentioning the specific location in the pop 0 means that is the location it means. So the 5 has been removed, then left with only 10 and 15. Clear? Now see when I pop it, the last one is coming out here. Okay. There are other two methods of programming. Normally we use the word called as a stack and queue. Can anyone just tell like what is stack or a queue? Few basic statements we use for stack and queue.
Push and pop.
Yeah, repeat it.
Push and pop.
Push and pop, right? Okay. What is the stack like? I want to know some few points on stack.
First
First,
in, first out.
First
Last in, first out.
last in, first out. Okay, I'll just type it here. We'll see what is stack now. So stack we tell generally as a last in, first out. Okay, then
Push pops.
push and pop words we use over there. Push and pop. Okay, then last in, first out. F5, FO. First in, first out. That is what like it comes in a stack. Okay, then what's the meaning of a queue?
First in, first out.
So queue, first in, first out, right? Okay. So, okay, one more is there.
Pipes.
What about this first in, last out? Where it comes? It comes in stack or queue? Or it's something else? Or it's a buffer? First in, last out. And what about this? Last in, last out. What about these two? First in, last out. Last in, last out. Where it comes in a stack. Sir has mentioned here stack here as for which one? Okay, I'll take first this one. Okay, first in, last out. It is called stack or queue or something else. Buffer, cache memory, FILO stack. Right. So first in, last out comes under stack, right? And last in, first out comes under stack. Okay. So stack, normally when we tell, we take an example of a cup or a bucket kind of thing. Bucket. And this will consider it's a pipe. Okay. Right. So when we tell about the stack, like a bucket means one side there is an open, other side it's a filled, right? Sorry, it's a closed one. So one side there is an open and the other side is a closed one. So when you get into the bucket example, so when we consider like this, so this is a space something where some 4 places are there. So now if I take a stack means the bottom will be, there is no open on the bottom. So only one side in can happen. So the first in, the first what we are going to put, that will be the last open, because the first in which I am going to put, that will be sitting here, right? So and to take out data also, you have to take out from this side only. So the last in whatever is there, that is taken out first. So here I am storing like first in 5, then after that 10 I have stored here, then 15, then 20. Now if you want to remove anything means the first out, that is the 20 we can remove. So the last in, first out, so the last whichever in came, the last came 20 and that is the first one which will be removed. Then the first in, the first which you went inside the stack, that was 5. So this if you want to remove, first you have to remove other 3, then only you can remove the 5. So here to put inside the stack and to take data out of the stack, in programming languages, we tell it as a push and pop methods, right? So same way, whenever I'm speaking about the queue part, so in queue we tell it like a pipe method. So we use the word called a pipe over there. So where both the side openings will be there. So one side is an in and one side is an out. So here we tell like first in, first out. The first in was the 5, right? So I put it here. Now if you want to remove any data, you should remove on the other direction. The first in which went 5, that only we can remove it. So the last in, last out. The last in was the 20. If you want to remove 20 means first you have to remove 5, then 10, then 15, then 20. So that is how the queue works. So normally we tell in the format of a pipe. Okay. So here you can observe like the append. We added the data right inside the list. So the list again, it's a data means what? Again, on basic everything gets into the memory only, right? So when we see other part of the memories, we use the word like cache, buffer. Those are different topic. I don't want to get into that now. So the list, when you are storing, it is stored inside the memory only. Your data are stored in the memory. So here by seeing this example, I started off adding the data into the list, right? I created an empty list and I started off adding it 5, 10, 15, 20. So that and all was stored. I printed here. I just pop. So when I do one pop, the first data which was removed was 20, means that is the last in, first out. So we can think like it's a behavior is like a similar to stack. Fine. Okay, so if you want to, but it's not exactly stacks. Stacks are used for some other purpose. Just I want to relate that. Now, if you want to remove the any specific location, also you can remove it. Now I want to remove the data from the location 0. That is the 5. So it has been removed now. Okay, so we are left with the other 2. So we have to understand the behavior of the list, how it is used, how it is declared, what all the behaviors are there. Then according to that, use it in your program. So this is the type of the list. So next we'll see the type called set here. So I repeat it as I suggest, there are different methods. Any one method you follow as a beginner so that we won't get confused also. Okay, right. The other type is set. You can use the word keyword set like this. Set dot add if you want to add anything. So an empty set has been assigned with the variable s. So we are using an add over here. There we used append. Here we are using add. And to remove anything, we are using a remove here. In list we used append and pop. Here I'm going to use add and remove element. So 5, 10. So when I'm printing that set yes, so you can see like 10 and 5 and all got printed, right? So when I'm removing, I'm specific location 5 I'm giving, so that has been removed. Okay, so when I print yes, so you can see that 5 has been removed, right? So only it is left with the 10. So here flower braces has been used and all to show in the output screen. Here great bracket has been used. Fine. So this is with the set part. Then we'll see the tuple. So in this tuple, I am calling list. Means inside one, another one you can call. Again, how we saw nested, right? Nesting looping. So inside loop, another loop. Based on your application, you created one list. Inside that list, another list you can call. Inside a tuple, one more list. So all this thing, nesting and all can be done. Okay. So tuple, I am declaring a type of a tuple. Inside that I am calling my list, where that list was having only 2 data, that was 10 and 15, right? So that I am assigning with the tuple t. I am printing it. So you can see that tuple 10 and 15 is getting printed. So nesting, one type of data method I can call inside another. All those things can be done. So then one more type we'll see, that is the dictionary. So the type dictionary here, I have mentioned the points also regarding these things. Later, some key points I have mentioned here with the type of list. Okay, then tuple, all those things I have mentioned here. So dictionary, normally we go with some pair where a key and a value. We combine with some pair method over there, key and a value. So in that method only you have to use the dictionaries. So dictionary of 5, some value, some string has been stored over there. Dictionary 10, some string has been stored. So when I print it, D, so you can see that here. So with that colon symbol, the key and a value for that. So it is printed in that format. Then delete keyword is used for the dictionaries. If you remove that 10 position, then only the 5 one key and a value has been printed here. Clear? So normal. So that is how the dictionary behaves. So where it works with a pair or with a pair concept of a key and a value. For when you have that kind of requirements, use with the specifically with the dictionary. Okay. So we have to consider as a key value pair method. So this was with the type dictionary. Okay, so by this I am completing all the sample coding methods with the Python for a beginners to check only with the with the Python programming. Okay, so where some sample types and all I had used it. I believe like this was helpful with the sessions. So now we'll go with the lunch break at 12:30. So again, we'll continue the next session by 2 o'clock. By 2 o'clock. So this was the end of Python programming. Okay. So I just want to take some introductions about the Python programming, the use benefits and all. So I believe this session was helpful, the 2 sessions which I explained. So now we'll again get back to our activity of machine learning, sample codes with image processing and all from the next sessions. So we'll join again by 2 o'clock. Okay, by 2 I'll continue with the other sessions, getting back to our image processing machine learning activities. Fine. So any doubts if you have regarding these things, you can get back to me in the next session also, or still I'll wait for 2 minutes. Any doubts are there, you can clarify it.